what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small business with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, we're on top of the next hot business trend that you can take advantage of, retail arbitrage, which could be your next side hustle and could be even more lucrative than my online gambling addiction. Our guest today is Joshua Lisec with Entrepreneurs Wordsmith. Joshua is a certified ghostwriter, and we'll talk to him about authority building and answer the critical questions. What is authority building, and what does a ghostwriter do to get certified? Finally, we'll wind up with our Small Business of the Month feature, where we'll highlight some interesting businesses that you should be checking out. My name is Jeff Neuville. I'm your co-host and director of the Small Business Center at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who is Dean of the School of Business, Industry, and Technology at Catawba Valley Community College. Gary, how you hanging?
Jeff, I'm hanging well. I'm a little soggy. It rains here every day. I didn't know I moved to Seattle.
I know it's been challenging, and today is the first day of March. Is that the Ides of March, or is that a different day? My Shakespeare is not good.
I don't know Shakespeare.
Okay,
but I've heard of it.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's an up and comer.
Yeah, he played for Duke, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, they get all the good guys, but they don't stay long.
No, that's right. So, it's one and done.
Anyway, so things are going well with you.
Going well. Getting ready for Skills.
Getting ready for Skills USA.
Yes.
And you'll be taking teams of high school students, college students to compete in various vocations, entrepreneurship, a little bit of everything.
Yes, exactly. And we'll highlight the entrepreneurship team because you had 2 national champions last year. So we're very proud of you and your team.
Well, it's always a team effort, you know. There's no I in team. But
I don't spell well.
Okay, well,
so
we know you're not good with Shakespeare or spelling.
Yeah.
We'll find
English was not a...
We'll find your strength. Bear with us, listeners. I mentioned retail arbitrage, which I read about in a Washington Post article by Rachel Siegel. Rachel followed people who have created their own businesses by finding gaps in the market. They can purchase products on sale or being closed out at the big box stores, and they resell them usually through Amazon on Fulfillment by Amazon. And I just thought it was a pretty interesting article of how some people are using Amazon. I was actually reading something online today about, is Amazon destroying the retail industry, and that Gap stores are closing a lot. They're closing a lot of their stores, not all their stores. Victoria's Secret's closing some stores. JCPenney's closing some stores. Kmart, Sears have had ongoing struggles just because of Amazon and online sales. But there are some entrepreneurial people out there that have found ways to take advantage of Amazon and use it to create their own businesses.
Yeah, I thought it was a great article and very interesting. Of course, she talked about the challenges with the brick and mortar stores that are closing down because they're online. Of course, Amazon's now making that even more prevalent, I guess is the right word. And then it was interesting to see that people are always, if they're creative, they can find a niche where they can make some money. And these guys are doing extremely well based on the article.
Right, and one of these guys is Mike Resells Resendez, who...
I like the name, although I had a hard time pronouncing it myself.
Well, you want to give it a shot?
I think you did great.
Okay, well, if you go and look for his YouTube channel, basically, it's like a big scavenger hunt. He's going into these big box stores. He's got a Bluetooth reader where he knows where he can sell his products. If he can get it at a certain price, he can tell pretty quickly whether it's a profitable trip or not. And a couple of things that he really emphasizes is really understanding your pricing dynamics. And also there are some fees associated with Fulfillment by Amazon where he gets rid of most of his stuff. So you just want to know the cost structure there.
I think that's a key thing. They came up with an idea, but they really had to then set up a business plan of how they're going to do it, not just buy stuff and say, okay, I'm going to be able to resell it to anybody and make money right away. I mean, the key is it's like anything else. You got to have a set plan of how you're going to go about your business.
Well, the other thing that I thought there was important is making sure you can handle the cash flow implications in that you're going out, you're buying all this stuff. maybe you're putting it on your credit card, but you're probably going to have to pay for it in 30 days, or you're going to start paying crazy interest. And how quickly can you sell it? So you might have to float it for a little bit.
Right.
So you want to make sure you've got the cash or the capital
resources
to make it work. I wouldn't quit your day job if you want to dip your toe in this.
No, I think that's a good, and that they kind of talk about how it's a way to supplement your income and different. All these guys are making good money, but I think if you're going to get started, just think, well, I'm just going to try this, dabble in this.
Apparently, there was a fellow that wrote a book. Chris Green is discussed in an article. Wrote a book called Retail Arbitrage. So, if it's something that you would like to give a go or see if it might be for you. Check out Chris Green's book, and I'm sure you can get that at Amazon as well, but it's called Retail Arbitrage, or go look at Reezy Resells on YouTube, and then you'll get a real taste for it. But you never know. You never know where your next business idea is going to come from. So
I think it's a great example of people trying to find a niche for their business and or a supplemental business, and it was really interesting to me to see how well they were doing.
Okay. Well, let's listeners, check it out. We want to introduce our guest to the Entrepreneur Exchange. We're fortunate to have Joshua Lisec with us today. Joshua, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Joshua is the founder of a business called the Entrepreneurs Wordsmith, LLC, Ohio's first and only certified ghostwriter. He is a multiple #1 international best-selling ghostwriter, a TEDx speaker, and a leading authority on author voice authenticity. Since 2011, he's ghostwritten nearly 40 books. He's achieved his own literary dreams, publishing multiple novels through independent publishing houses. And now he helps award-winning business owners, chief executives, coaches, consultants, inventors, investors, and goodness knows who else to launch books and establish their own personal brands and multiply their organization's revenue and promote their businesses through his ghostwriting business. Joshua, welcome. Tell us a little bit about Entrepreneurs Wordsmith and your background. How did you get started with this?
Thank you. Yes. It is the good old-fashioned pivot. You kind of stole the thunder a little bit, which is all cool, and that is that when I was a youngster, my big dream was to become a published novelist someday. I was inspired by I loved the Indiana Jones films when I was a kid, and I also enjoyed the popular fiction, fantasy specifically, and so those early influences into my life made me want to be a novelist. And so, 90% of people want to be an author, right? They want to write a book someday. And I was 17 when I started writing my novels, and before I could legally drink, I had a publishing contract, and so I got both of those adventure thriller novels published. And while I was going about promoting those books, speaking at conferences and whatnot, I was approached by some of my freelance clients I had kind of on the side doing, copywriting and marketing strategy for small businesses. And they would say, Joshua, we enjoy the product descriptions, the sales letters, the email marketing that you're putting together for us in our business. But we want something that's going to build our authority in the industry. And we're thinking it's going to be a book, because that's where we can share all of our lessons, our techniques, our unique selling proposition. It's been 300 pages talking about our USP as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And we're thinking you could help us because, well, your books are pretty good. We don't want to write novels, we don't want to write fiction, but we want to write something that's page-turning like a novel. And I'll tell you the truth, gentlemen, for the longest time, I said, no thanks. I write my own books. Thank you very much. But the inevitable pivot occurred when I said, you know what, I'll help you. What's another book? And that's almost 40. I'm almost 40 books later since I finally said yes. And it's so rewarding to help other authors do exactly what I did, which was not write one, but 2 books, and then help them get published and fulfill their own literary dreams. And it's more than just, hey, you got a book now, that's great. But they have a tome, a masterpiece. They get to say, I wrote the book on my industry. And that credibility, that demonstrable expertise is what builds their authority and opens those doors of opportunity, whether that's they want more investors, they want to increase their prices and be able to justify that with authority they have, perceived authority. They want to convert more customers. They want to use their book to get more clients, use it as kind of a sales tool or a marketing tool. There's so many ways to use a book. And so when authors are coming to me, they're not necessarily saying it's all about the book. It's the book is the means to the end, or means to the ends rather. And being a business savvy guy, before I even started ghostwriting, I thought, I think I could try my hand at this. And so it's been quite a journey in the Entrepreneurs Wordsmith. It's grown successfully, wildly over the last 8 years now, so much to the point that my wife's been able to join the business. She's the vice president of the company. And I always joke that our 9-month-old son is our unpaid intern.
Well, yeah, I suspect you're paying. He's probably taking a lot of money out of the business. I'm sure about that, Joshua. But so now, we had the opportunity to speak a little bit, before we taped, and I really got the sense that people use the books that you write for them as a marketing tool, as you were saying, and really as a way, as you say, to establish their credibility or authority for a particular industry. But before we go there, you're a certified ghostwriter. How does one become certified in ghostwriting?
Yes, so there's only one academically sponsored ghostwriting training program on the planet, and it's at California State University, Long Beach. It's a master's degree level educational credential that basically, if you go through this program, and I will be the first to say, I went into this program having a lot of experience. Probably the most difficult thing I've done in my life, my professional life, I would say, in terms of how high the standards of the program are. From what I recall, they said the actual dropout rate is over 50%, as in 50% of people are like, hey, professional ghostwriting, it's just not your thing. Because ghostwriting is not just being able to write well, which, there's tens of thousands of freelancers who can spell properly that you can work with if you just want a freelance writer. But a certified ghostwriter is someone who is able to communicate in the voice of anyone that they're working with, whether that person has let's say, an educator's vocabulary, and being in academia, they speak in a certain way to communicate in terms of facts and figures and processes. There's some people that are high energy serial entrepreneurs. They're bouncing off the walls, and you need to be able to capture their voice and communicate like them. And so I think of ghostwriting as acting in print, where it's my job to act, so to speak, as my client on the page. And so it's a combination of business communication and, dare I say, theatrical, acting as well, which I have professional acting experience myself. So I think that probably helps. And then the business of publishing and what it is that different markets of readers want. Because even if you have a freelance writer who helps you write together a good book, is anybody going to want to buy it? Is it more than just something that builds up your ego? Does it actually build your authority? So there's a lot of questions that you have to be able to answer for every single client. And so it's that program through Cal State, I think, it was a great step for me to take my ghostwriting to the next level, so to speak, with that industry cred. So you were telling us earlier that you have clients in South Africa, throughout the world, or you're talking to people throughout the world, and when you embark on a project to write a book with somebody, for somebody, I mean, tell us just a little bit about the process. I mean, it must take some time on your part to understand their voice as well as the content or substance of their industry.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the courses that you took, how they train you to do that. That's got to be that's a real skill and talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I like to think so. I mean, there's a process. I'm definitely a process-oriented guy. We have operations management systems that do fantastically for us and enable us to take on quite a few clients at a time compared to other ghostwriters who were like one-off folks. But the process is the same, but every author is different, as you alluded to. Their industry is different, their voice is different, their objectives are different. I like to think that a book is the key that opens any door of opportunity in your industry for you as an entrepreneur. And there's different doors that people want to open. Some people want to open the door of more media exposure. All right, then we'll write the book so that it's geared towards being something that has not just credibility, but there's urgency to it. This is a topic everybody needs to know about right now, and so that's the spirit of the book. So it's angled towards people who are looking for that exciting hook, that headline, that story that no one else has covered yet. There's other authors that say, hey, I want to use this book I want to mail a copy to potential clients. I want them to call me and send and book me, and I want to sell $1 million contract on the spot, using this book. I have clients, that's what they do. And so the objective for them is to, I guess you could say, explore every avenue of what their expertise is. What are everything that their clients would need to know to be able to work with a company like them? So in those two cases, totally different styles, totally different book takeaways, but it all comes down to what your objectives are. And the ghostwriting process really does start with, I like to think of it as a Venn diagram. So imagine you've got two circles on a page. There's a little overlap in the middle. The left circle, this is everything that you as an entrepreneur, you could write about. There's a lot. There's like 100 books just right there in that one circle. That's on the left circle. The right circle of the Venn diagram is what your market wants to read. What is the demand for? What do they love about other books in your book category, in your industry? What do they hate about those other books? What do they expect from books in that industry? What do they wish people would talk about that authors haven't talked about yet? And that overlap between what you could write about and what your readers want to read, what they're willing to pay for to read, that becomes your book outline, your book premise, your book idea. And from there, we flesh out each chapter one at a time on the topics that you could write about, that also your readers want to hear about. And that way you avoid writing something that just is all about you and your business. Oh, it's fun, it's interesting, it's exciting, but nobody cares. As an example, I like to
that would
give
be mine.
A client who's in the water treatment purification systems industry. If we were to write a book that's just, hey, leadership lessons from the water treatment purification systems industry.
We're waiting for that one. Come on, Josh. We're all chomping at the bit for that book.
That sounds exciting.
When will it be here?
Not.
Oh, you guys.
But somebody's interested in that.
That's kind of a narrow audience. If you are a leader in an organization that's in the water treatment purification systems industry, yeah, that's for you. But that's what, 3 people? A dozen people? But the leadership lessons that this client, this author, has learned have broad application. If you lead anything, whether it is a Fortune 50 company or a Sunday school. A couple of examples of books that do this really well, where maybe you have a topic that's super industry specific, and you're like, well, maybe I'll sell 10 copies to clients, but what about selling tens of thousands of copies? Which I do have clients that do exactly that, average 10,000 copies sold per month. And it's because they do something like this. Have either of you read the productivity book called The One Thing by Gary Keller?
Have not.
I have not either, but we'll put it on our list.
Yes.
So there's probably more than a handful of folks listening right now. You've read this book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, productivity book. So the book is all about how to identify the one thing you need to do in your schedule today and organizing your schedule, your routine around that one thing. And so that way you're not multitasking and splitting your time, trying to do 100 things at once. You're just doing one thing at a time. It's a great book. There's book clubs, of homemakers on Facebook who talk about this book. There's Fortune 500 companies that do trainings and hire the author as a keynote speaker. I mean, there's universal appeal. But the examples throughout the book of how to be productive using the author's model, Gary Keller's model, are all in the real estate industry Because Gary Keller is the co-founder of Keller Williams Realty. So every real estate agent on the planet needs to read that book because of the application, how it's going to help them sell more homes to more people, or work with buyers, or whatever the case may be. So that's a more known example of how to communicate and be the authority on your industry, but also have a book that anybody can read. Like I said, whether you want to be more productive as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or you want to be more productive in your classes as a student.
Well, and Gary and I, since we work at a community college, are involved in academia, so we don't read a lot of books, but we that's now on our list. But when you and I spoke before, you talk a lot about authority building as sort of a brand building strategy, and how people can use the products that you're creating to assist them in authority building, which can be a very powerful marketing tool. So I want to talk to our listeners a little bit about authority building, what it is, and how they can use a book to assist them in building that authority.
Right. So authority building, simply defined, is efforts that you undertake in order to be perceived as an authority. So if you're an entrepreneur, chances are you're already an authority, whether people know it or not. You have the experience, you have the expertise, you have the street cred, so to speak, that you know what you're talking about. You produce great products.
As an example, like if I was a master negotiator and wanted to write something like about the art of making deals or something like that, I could hire a ghostwriter to assist me.
Never heard that before.
Just a thought. That could be one way to do it.
I think that could be. That's a good book idea. I'll have to see if
you can use that one.
Definitely, yeah. So that's an example where the idea is you're already the authority. But does it matter if? I guess I would use the analogy. If an authority calls themselves an authority and no one's there to hear them, is that person actually an authority? Does the tree fall in the forest?
Tree falling in the forest.
You see where that metaphor is going. Mm-hmm. So the idea of authority building is to bring more people into the forest to hear the tree fall, so to speak, or to demonstrate your credibility. It is to share your expertise with as many people as possible. And a book is this mass market literary product that builds authority better than just about any marketing strategy or personal brand building, promotional opportunity or tactic or platform available. So, for example, let's just compare a book to some of the other things that people are doing to, be the kind of the go-to entrepreneur in their space, or the go-to business owner services provider. I mean, people, they set up social media accounts. They do a lot of email marketing and newsletters. They have a blog. Maybe they run some webinars. They do some traditional media like, maybe commercials or radio or billboards. Well, each of these, unfortunately, is, for the most part, short form content, like a social media post. There's not a lot of substance you can communicate in one social media post. Its lifetime is also very short, like less than a day, less than a few hours for tweets, for example. I see people spending ridiculous amounts of time trying to get known as an authority on, Twitter or on their blog. They have 100 subscribers on their blog. Whoop-de-doo. They have, five people who follow them on Twitter. That's just not the type of broad appeal that you're looking to get. But with a book, you have potentially millions of potential readers of that book. And also for longevity, I have books on my shelf that were published 20, 30 years ago. I glance at that person's name probably, 100 times a day? The books that are on my bookshelf next to my desk. With an email newsletter, I see it once, I skim the headline, that's it. Maybe it went to my spam filter. I never saw it. Yet there's so many people investing a lot of time in blogging and newsletters or in print media that just gets tossed into the trash in an attempt to build an authority with the public or with their industry if they're B2B. So the question that a lot of my clients ask themselves and find me because they're asking is, I want to be the authority on this, as in people recognize that I'm the authority, But what is the best way to do that? I've tried the emails and the webinars and this and that, but it's not the substance that I'm looking to get. I want to be the go-to person. When people think of my industry, I want them to think of my name or my company, our brand, our products. And the book is the number one best way to do that. It's the one authority building strategy that existed almost 500 years ago. It exists now, and probably will exist 500 years from now, where the future of emails is probably going to be telepathic communication.
So, I guess for any marketing strategy, people ultimately are going to think about it in terms of return on investment or ROI. Yes. So when you speak with clients about what sort of returns they can expect from going down the process of creating a book, developing a book, having a book, what are ways that clients could anticipate getting a return on the investment that they're making in developing a book? How will they use it, and what sort of returns will they get?
Right. That answer is personalized for every author. I have a great resource, free resource, no sign up or anything required, on my website called a book revenue calculator. That, based on your business size, the audience you maybe already have, the products or services that you offer, you can calculate, if you launched your book today, what type of ROI would you get from your book? And the idea is, I like to borrow this idea behind ROI for a book from J. Conrad Levinson, who wrote Guerrilla Marketing. He said something to the effect of, when people ask me how much money I made from my book, Guerrilla Marketing, J. Conrad Levinson says, I say $10 million. The book only paid me about $35,000 in royalties, he says. But the wide open doors, consulting fees, speaking gigs, product sales, and programs accounted for the remaining $9,965,000. So the idea is that a book, maybe it only sells 1,000 copies. But if you have a product that your book teaches people about, then you have an educated buying audience, and maybe that product is $50, maybe it's $5,000 if you're in high ticket sales, and so that book is now it allows for exponential revenue opportunities. For an example, I have one client who I think it was just about a year after the launch of the book, she calculated a 70x return on her investment, as in 70 times the money she put into it. That's what she got out of it. And we looked at the statistics to see, or the metrics rather, of readers to find out what was happening and how she got that. So she did sell quite a few copies. But what we saw happening when we looked at the Kindle metrics, we saw that people were reading the book about two-thirds of the way through, and they were abandoning the book. They weren't reading it again. And we're like, what's happening? We realized that they stopped reading the book because they went and they bought her products. And so they ascended inside of her business. They become repeat customers. So now maybe she sells a paperback copy for $15. Well, that $15 buyer is now a customer. And of course, the psychology of pricing is that when you have someone who buys one product, they're upwards of 2,000% more likely to buy from you again. And so when you make that offer to buy your product or to join your high ticket program or to become a client or to hire you for speaking, that second or third ask is so much easier, and they just ascend inside of your business with you. So your average customer value from your book readers is a lot more than just what they spend on buying your paperback or your ebook. Another great example is a digital marketing entrepreneur down in Florida. He's estimating that his book is bringing in over $1 million in revenue for his business. And of course, again, the book's like $20 we listed it for. So it's not selling 50,000 copies. But what's happening is that people are buying the book saying, oh my goodness, I have to learn more about this. What's the next step? And then they buy his product from there. And depending on what type of industry you're in, that next step looks a little bit different. I've got a buddy who's in plastics manufacturing. He sends a copy of his book to different associations in his industry. He calculated every time he sends his book to one of these places to get to speak, he makes about $5,000. He does that about 10 times a year. Well, there you go. Just from haphazard kind of effort putting this out there. But again, whatever your opportunity is, you're looking to reach or to achieve, or the door you're looking to unlock, chances are, as long as you're actually the authority, not some schmuck or fraud, as long as you're the actual authority, then that door can open for you.
Well, and we'll sort of wind up a little bit with publishing these days. You mentioned the books on your bookshelf, and they're probably beautifully bound and hardcover, but I suspect there are different ways that you go about publishing a book these days. How do you help people with that process, and what are the avenues they can go down to actually get their book published?
I do, yes. There's a couple of different paths that I take authors down depending on what their business model is. So there's traditional publishing, which is like Big Four, Big Five, like HarperCollins, Penguin, Random House, the big publishing houses that have offices in Sydney and in Singapore and London and New York and LA and those types of companies. The upside of traditional publishing tends to be brand reach or brand awareness, because they have just their supply chains are so massive, and their ability to get the word out about your book is quite broad. The problem is traditional publishers don't do much marketing for a book anymore, unless the author is already a household name. So they're not necessarily going to get a lot of support. So now what a lot
good for Michelle Obama or somebody like that.
Yeah, right. Michelle Obama, who already has that massive platform. So who tends to be right for traditional publishing are people who their business is their personal brand. They're an expert with a capital E. They're a public figure. They're a household name. And so all they have to do is work with a certified ghostwriter, get the manuscript done, pass it off to their agent, and the agent sells it to a publisher, and that's that. And they're going to sell a whole lot of copies, even if they don't do much marketing. Traditional publishing doesn't tend to be best for entrepreneurs, I found, because most entrepreneurs want to have control inside of their business, or the control over their destiny. And with traditional publishing, you're giving up a lot of control. You're giving up editorial control. You're giving up creative control. You're giving up timeline control. For example, if the publisher says, nope, we're removing that chapter. Nope, we're adding this chapter. Nope, we don't like you saying that. Nope, we don't like your worldview or your beliefs. We're going to cut those out of the book. Nope, we don't like your title. Then that's what you're going to face. And the trade-off for experts or for public figures, usually if you're a public figure, the trade-off is worth it. And I have several clients who are experts or public figures, and that works for them. I help them with the industry standard book proposal and the sample chapters, and we have great success going down that path. But for entrepreneurs who make up the audience of the Entrepreneur Exchange, I've developed a process that I call ghost publishing. That's a combination of self-publishing and traditional publishing, specifically giving you the pros of both and eliminating the cons. I call it ghost publishing because ghostwriting is where someone writes your book, for you in your voice. It's all your ideas. They do all the work. You take all the credit. With ghost publishing, someone else does all the work. You take all the royalties, the profits from the book. The benefits of self-publishing, of course, are you have total creative control and you have you get all the royalties. Pro of traditional publishing is the promotion, the brand awareness. So we've combined both of those into ghost publishing, where basically we set up an independent publishing business inside of your business, including the warehousing, the shipping of books, the production, all of the people that you would want to work with inside of a traditional publishing model, like a book publicist or someone who's an expert on author sponsorships, of like bringing in a company like Disney or Costco or American Airlines to sponsor you as an author, give you $50,000, to go on a speaking circuit for their regional conferences and doing workshops. We make that available to authors, or we call them authorpreneurs, as well. So that path, a lot of authors we're finding want to go that route because they get the benefits of both traditional and self-publishing, and the cons are off the table.
That's cool. Well, it's interesting to hear about your business, both from a business perspective as well as a potential marketing perspective. So it's sort of a nice treat for us and our listeners.
Definitely.
We appreciate it.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
We always like to end our talks with our guests with our lightning round, if you're up for that. So,
Absolutely.
okay, and actually we have a sponsor for our lightning round this time. It's we're sponsored today by corn syrup. If you like it in your beer, you're going to love it on your steak. Corn syrup. It's not just for your cheap beer any longer. So
I'm going to try that this weekend.
All right. Anyway, all right. You ready, Joshua?
I sure am.
All right. First question. Where's the place that you'd most like to travel to?
So I've already been there, but I want to go there again. So as well, I don't think listeners could tell, but I have the fullest, reddest beard you've ever seen in your life. My wife's last name is Shaw. Put those together, and we both have ancestry associated with the Celtic people, or Ireland for modern language. That's where we went on our honeymoon. We went to Ireland and then over to England and then back to Ireland. So one of our kind of bucket list objectives is to buy a medieval Irish castle.
All right. So
that's cool.
So your answer is Ireland and a medieval castle, correct?
That's right.
All right. Well, this is a lightning round. You need to keep it to quick answers, okay? All right. So our next question, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Is it okay to wear socks with sandals?
Only if you're over the age of 65 and have a net worth of $1.5 million or more.
Good answer.
Okay. Godfather or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Favorite song to karaoke, if you did such a thing?
Hurdy-Gurdy Man by Donovan.
Do you prefer cake or pie?
Whichever has more frosting.
It's probably usually going to be the cake. And last question, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation.
You're correct. Good answers. Good job by you.
Excellent.
Joshua, if our listeners want to find you, where should they be looking? Where can we find you out there?
The best place would be my website, EntrepreneurSWordsmith.com. Entrepreneur is plural. Wordsmith is one word. Nothing crazy with Smith. It's not Smith with a Y-E. It's just EntrepreneurSWordsmith.com. I also have quite a bit of a following on LinkedIn as well. Joshua Lisec on LinkedIn.
Sounds good. Well, Joshua, we very much appreciate you joining us today, and we always like to end the Entrepreneur Exchange highlighting a few small businesses that we've all come across. Joshua, do you have one that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would, yes. This small business is out of Chatham, Ontario, Canada. Short drive up the interstate for me. The company is Pristansky Coaching. Heather and Kyle Pristansky run this coaching business. It is a service provider for anyone who sells a high-ticket product or a service. A high ticket being over $500 for the goods. So if you're in luxury goods, premium products, you offer done for you services. These are the people to talk to help you not just have a higher conversion rate, but to scale your business sustainably. Pristansky Coaching, Prestan, ski like skiing. Pristansky Coaching in Chatham, Ontario.
Sounds good. All right. Look for him there. Gary, what's your small business of the month?
My small business of the month is Plush Cuts of Hickory, North Carolina, which I learned about last week during your panel discussion with business leaders. I was so taken by David Williams, the owner, that I wanted to highlight his business, even though I know he's one of our city councilmen. I got to see him in action talking to our students and the community, and I was just he gets it. I guess that's what I want to say. And that means he talks about work ethic and outworking the people and setting yourself apart by working hard and having creative ideas. And I thought it was just a great message for our students. His business is hair styling, and he also has products that he goes with it. But I really was impressed with him as a person as much as his business.
He's a great guy.
And he's your guy.
That's right. You can find, and I believe he's got a website that Plushcuts, PLUSHKUTZ.com, I think. So
I think that's correct.
Find him and his products there. And my small business of the month. Well, last month I went on a trip to Asheville, North Carolina, and visited a incubator called Hatch AVL, which helps scalable businesses grow in the Asheville region. And while I was there, I met one of their businesses, which is called Plum Print, which is my small business of the month. And Plum Print takes all of your child's artwork. Joshua, you need to listen to this. Drawings, macaroni necklaces, everything else, and maybe your 9-month-old doesn't have a lot of drawings yet, but he will. They digitize them and they print them into a custom coffee table book. So instead of having a year's worth of your child's lovable art, you can actually create a book and for your coffee table and maybe get rid of all that artwork. You just have the book, and you don't have all this artwork hanging around. But they digitize it. It's a full-service company. They make the process easy. It sends you a prepaid box, which you fill with the artwork. You ship it back. Once received, it's professionally photographed and scanned. The photographs are edited and laid out in book form. A digital proof is sent to you for approval, and afterward, the book is printed and mailed to you. You can have the original artwork returned, or they will dispose of it for you, whichever you prefer. They find that usually the first year people want the artwork back. Second time they do it, maybe not so much. The price of the process varies depending on how much artwork you send. It was created by a woman named Carolyn Lanzetta. She's one of the co-creators, who was previously an equity trader at J.P. Morgan, and she was a mom and found that she was drowning in artwork. So she came up with this answer to come up with a custom book. Co-founder Meg Ragland was also, she was an editor at Women's Day, Family Circle magazine, and they started testing the product, their concept in 2012, and now they've got about 20 people working for them. They've received over $1 million in seed funding, and they've expanded their product line beyond books to include putting your kids' artwork on such things as calendars, note cards, even pillowcases, and even shower curtains. So, if you want to check them out, you can go to www.plumprint.com. So Joe Bob says check that out. We appreciate everyone listening. If you've got a suggestion for our Entrepreneur Exchange Small Business of the Month, you can email it to us at eexchange@themesh.tv. If we use it, you get a Entrepreneur Exchange prize pack. We want to thank Joshua Lisec with Entrepreneurs Wordsmith for joining us today. Joshua, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
We want to thank.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
We want to thank the Mesh Podcast Network for hosting us. You can check out all the podcasts from the Mesh at themesh.tv, and you can subscribe to us and many of the other podcasts there. So thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you guys again in about a month.
Take care. We'll be in the middle of the ACC tournament, maybe the NCAA basketball.
And we'll have some March Madness for you. All right, take care.
Take care.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.